Radical.
And of course, there's other problems like there's Grin, who apparently is a hostess somewhere at a club, and it's not a her, it's a him. I get confused because it's a trans and everything. Of course, we had to take Grimm, who had an interesting backstory. You notice when I said to change the characters, Grimm had an interesting backstory to where they experimented on him. He was experimented on, and that's why he was a male that had bosoms. That's why that was. But now we have the exact opposite. A female that is a male secretly but doesn't have bosoms. I don't know how that works. They just was it like, okay, Netflix just wanted to sprinkle in a trans there? Was that a requirement of the show? You have the whole episode with the person that snatched a dog because it was a valuable dog, and the fight with Spike wasn't nearly as good. Wasn't on a bridge. It was on a rooftop. They just did a lot of the same stuff, but they changed the locations. That awesome scene where Spike is jumping off of the bridge onto the boat, with the dog like on the face. You don't see that. Maybe they couldn't do a lot of these scenes, Maybe they couldn't recreate a lot of these scenes and make them look good in the live adaptation, which leads me to say, okay, if you can't recreate the anime to live action, then don't fucking try it. Don't attempt it. I know this wasn't going to be perfect, but the writing, the dialogue is terrible. There's one instance where a woman goes over to Jet, who is, now black, by the way, which I have no issue with, but she says that he's they talk about blackmail, and she, no lie to you, looks at him and says, well, you are black and you are male. What is this shit? What is this shit? To the writer of this, what is this shit? Were you laughing? Were you laughing all the way to the bank when you wrote this shit? Fans of the original series, one of the greatest anime of all times, a freaking masterpiece, do not appreciate this. And it's canceled partly, I think, because fans of the original were making their voices vocal, were making their voices known. They were letting Netflix know that this was terrible, and they shouldn't have released it in this form. But as far as why it was canceled, mostly I believe it just comes down to the numbers and the utter shock that Netflix had that it was not. People were tuning out. It wasn't a top 10. It was. But then it started to drop and drop and drop. Maybe they noticed from their analytics that people like myself tuned in, watched an episode or two, and said, no, this is not Cowboy Bebop. The characters were not themselves. The main problem of the series. And it doesn't just stop with Spike and Faye and Jet. It extends to, and it's even worse when you go into the villains. The couple, Julia, who was not a villain in the show, I think got the worst treatment. Because Julia goes from being this ghost, this thing that Spike mentions from time to time, occasionally in a couple of the episodes. Perfect build-up. When you actually have the moment where Spike meets Julia, it's been the perfect build-up the whole series. That moment where they're staring each other down and she pulls a gun on him, It's just beautiful. Just amazing. She doesn't say a whole lot. That's part of her character. Same thing with Vicious. He doesn't say a whole lot. But the worst thing by far they did in this series is turn them into a married couple. Vicious, I said this before, that's the main issue, my main problem with the series. They couldn't get that they couldn't have messed that up anymore. Like, it seems farcical what happened with Vicious. Julia is a problem too. I don't think as big as a problem as Vicious, but Julia, they messed the character up. They switched everything around, and now you see her all the time. She is the wife of Vicious, and there's a whole angle about, him being a spoiled daddy's boy who is abusing her also. So it seems like a lot of this was meant to cater to the females and to make him a villain in that respect. They just veered off so much from the anime. And maybe they wanted to have Vicious be in every episode as the foil, you know, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work, partly because of the hilarious wig and the facial expressions and the fact that that's not Vicious. There's not even a crow. I guess they couldn't afford the budget to actually have like a crow, you know? But the last part I watched was when Spike has the sniper rifle. He set up a sniper rifle and he asked Vicious that, he asked him, do you still have bulletproof glass? And then he shot the back of the limo Vicious was in, and the it was in my thumbnail, I believe, in my last upload about Cowboy Bebop, where he just gritted his teeth and, yelled something like, Spike! That's not something Vicious would do. Vicious's character was not that. Whatever that was the exact opposite of Vicious's character. So we have a theme throughout the whole show that all the characters pretty much are not like their anime counterparts. It is an example of how to basically make... I don't know if there was any thinking in their brains to actually make this true and faithful to the original for fans of the original. It's not that fucking hard to do. If you're going to come out with something that says Cowboy Bebop, then maybe you could deviate a little bit. Maybe you can take the same characters and put them in different situations. But you have to get the characters right. That was a problem with one of the Star Wars movies and Luke Skywalker. It's just a theme now because Hollywood wants to take the males specifically and change them up. Or, it'll take the males and turn them into trans. So there's a theme also to just take all the women and make them girl power and super strong and everything and belittle the men and whatnot. So that's what I see here. It's what happens when Hollywood gets its hands on a great series like Cowboy Bebop. The audacity of the show. And there was even a statement, I think, that they said that they were improving on some elements of Cowboy Bebop. Unless you're the original creator of Cowboy Bebop, you can't improve on any elements of Cowboy Bebop. It's pretty much a goddamn masterpiece. It is a master class on how to make an anime and to make it appeal to a vast audience. It is the anime that a lot of people will say, you know what? I don't like anime, but hell yeah, I'm down with Cowboy Bebop, So I'm so glad it's canceled. It is a great thing. And hopefully this will send a signal to Hollywood specifically, not just Netflix, to quit taking amazing properties from the past and thinking that they can rewrite them and they can make them better. You can't.